the necessity for God having a name to begin with. What does he need a name for? Well, he only needs a name because just like in the human dimension, the only reason we need a name is because of another. Because if you're by yourself in the desert or in your home, you don't need a name. You're with yourself, by yourself. So before God created the world, he doesn't need a name.
If you want more and an intimate and personal setting, together with like-minded people who seek to grow and become their truest self, click the link below in the description and join the Tanya Rabbi Community, TRC. You can join the first month risk-free at no charge at tanyarabbi.com/TRC. Click below. Looking forward to seeing you.
But because he wants a relationship with us, therefore there's a name. He doesn't really need a name ultimately because he is beyond a name. It's not limited to a name. Can we define God with a name? Is God definable in any way? Beyond any, as Maimonides Rambam says, Bilti Mitzias Nimsa. Without being, he is found. To be found means there's some kind of parameter, some kind of definition. So without being, but yet he's found, which is actually a paradox. But we have to speak in human terms. So in our human terms, there's only about being. So therefore he's found, but yet he's without a being. So then that's the way God is. But because of the relationship that he wants with us, and he wants that relationship to be not merely one of pure faith, but one that we can internalize. And internalizing for me and you means understanding. And from understanding, bringing to a feeling. So therefore, we need to know God. Therefore, God makes himself knowable. First, by a name. Oh, that name means this. That name represents that. And so on. So, that's the reason for ultimately the name. And that name becomes a part of us. And that name of God, which is the vital force of God, that he conducts the world, creates the world, and conducts the world with. And what name is it? The primary name. There's several names, but the primary name is the Tetragrammaton. Yud, and a Hey, and a Vav, and a Hey. The Zohar says that these are the 10 adornments of God. As it were, as he adorns himself, as he garbs himself, as he presents himself, as when we garb ourselves. Therefore, summertime, still garb yourselves properly. Shem Havaya, exactly. Now, another term that's used by the Kabbalists, it's called a sphira, the 10 spheros. The Zohar calls it tikkunim, adornments, how he affixes himself, how he presents himself in the act of creator and in conducting creation continuously, because God creates the world continuously. Spheros, as the Kabbalists call it, from the word sapphire, that sparkles and gives a reflection, gives a ray. That is like a name, right? A reflection of the person, a ray of the individual. And so it is of God. So these spheroids are 10. Not 9, not 11. So God wants 10. And those 10 are actually reflected in his very name. So we're going to take apart this name and each letter and show how it reflects the totality of the 10 spheroids. Let's begin. We begin the letter Yud. Excuse me. Yud represents Chachma, divine, we translate as wisdom, divine ingenuity, creativity. It is, can be, sometimes when people write, they write a dot. And the dot represents Chachma, because a dot is the first part of a form, which is yet formless in a sense. It is the bridge between the formlessness of God, that is Ein Sof, limitless, and it is the bridge, the go-between to complete form. It is formless in a sense because it is like that flash of, in the human context, that flash of an idea that is just a flash. It is the form of, it is the formlessness of ingenuity, but yet is something there, it's a dot. It is the complete idea, the seed of the idea. That's the way it is in us. So in the divine realm, it is the bridge between the limitlessness, the formlessness, the infinite of God, and the beginning of form of creation. Chachma. Now, in this very letter, that could be represented by a dot, right? And interesting about a dot, what happens when you split a dot in half? Still left with a dot. Split it again, a dot. It represents the formless, it's the bridge between formlessness and form. So on the one hand, it has got a sense of being formless because it's only a dot. And when you divide a dot, it's like still a dot, formless. It represents infinity. At the same time, it also has a form, but very small form, because it's the source. And as you see that it goes down into creating form, ultimately. Now, if you look at the top, though, it's got a little thorn facing up, which represents divine will. The divine will of God that is beyond form. It's not one of the 10 divine attributes. It's not one of the 10 spheres or one of the 10 adornments, garments that God presents himself through creation. It's beyond. Which is important to understand for later. And it's represented by that thorn that's sticking upwards to the infinite formlessness beyond. Now, every letter ultimately begins with the Yud, because everything starts with Chochmah, with the divine energy field that is the bridge between the Ein Sof, the formlessness, and the form of creation. The ultimate bridge, conduit for creation, or the beginning. I don't know if it's the ultimate, but it's the beginning at least, right? Now, if it would remain there, it would remain not a viable form of creative power. It needs to go into the next letter. From Chachma comes Bina. Bina is cognition. Bina is development. It's taking the point and developing it. See, you got the yud there, the beginning of the yud, but then it's taking it into a breadth and into a length. It's developing, as in the human condition would be by us. It's taking the idea and now fleshing it out, developing it. That's bina from building, binyan. It is taking it, as you see in the very letter. You see these letters are creative powers of breadth, a width, and then bringing it down. Where is it bringing it down? And by the way, here's the third leg is depth. Width, length, and depth. Where is it bringing it down? It's bringing it and being the vital force for the hidden worlds, the spiritual worlds above. Because these first two letters, as these letters are divided into first two, Yud K, and then Vav K, Yud and a Hey, and a Vav and a Hey, because there's two basic worlds that are constantly being created. The first two letters are the vital force specifically for the hidden worlds, and the last two for the revealed worlds, which includes our physical world. Which includes our physical world, of course. So, the Hey, Bina of the divine, is drawing down into the hidden worlds to vitalize them, to give them existence. Why is it a hidden world? Well, because it's coming from divine intelligence. And just like in the human condition, intelligence is something that's hidden from another, right? There needs not be another human being for us to sit and just develop our intelligence, read and understand, learn and grow. You don't need another human being for that. Because, like the absent-minded professor, totally engaged and involved in their head, right? There's no otherness. Well, the hidden world, in a sense, is still a world, but it is hidden, just as the intelligence is hidden from other. Of course, someone can know your intelligence because when you speak, but that's not intelligence. That's expressing intelligence. But the intelligence itself is hidden. So it is in the divine realm, the source of vitality, as God's name is Yud, Hoive, bringing into presence. In Hoive means presence, into being, means the word being. It is constantly the Yud bringing into being. What is the first two letters primarily bringing into being, or the source of? The hidden worlds, the spiritual realms above. But creation continues. The creative process continues. And then we have the last two letters, Vav and a Hey. Vav Hey. Vav is the numeric value of 6, sixth letter in the alphabet, which represents the 6 emotions, 6 divine emotions. Chesed, kindness. Gvura, power. Tiferes, beauty, compassion. Netzach, triumph, endurance. Hod, acknowledgement, humility. And Yesod, foundation, connection. The 6 emotions. What does emotion mean? Otherness. Right? In emotion, you can only have an emotion of love, fear, because there's another that you are connected to in some manner, that you are having the emotion of feeling towards the other. Although the emotion is within you, but it's still based on otherness. That is the divine powers above that now are the vital force for the revealed world. Revealed meaning that there's revealed otherness. They come from the divine emotion. Beginning with Vav, 6. And also if you look at the letter, Vav is a complete from above down. By the way, if you write the letter from down up, it's invalid when you write a mezuzah or a Torah scroll. It has to be up down because the connection to other is from above to below, from God down to into the revealed word down below. The word vav itself means hook. You put a vav in front of a word means and, because it hooks that word to the previous word. It's a connector. Vav is about connection. Emotions is about connection. So it's the divine connection to the revealed world. To the revealed world. And then finally, we have the final hey, which is malchus, translated sovereignty. How is he sovereign king? Through his word, as the king rules with his word. It is the words, the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, the Hebrew letters of the alphabet that are how God specifically creates all of creation. The 22 letters, as we've learned previously, about combinations and transpositions and so on and so forth. The point being, though, over here, Malchus is the sovereign king as he controls and rules and specifically creates everything of creation. That's the final hey of the Tetragrammaton. Now, the letter hey is the 5th letter of the alphabet. 5, because in articulating or in speaking, God speaking the world into creation, Malchus, there's 2 components. There's breath and articulation. Articulation, you need 5 limbs of the body. Lips, teeth, tongue, palate, and throat, larynx. Oops. Sorry. Got that? So, for example, the letters base, vav, mem, and pei are primarily letters of the lips. The letters zayin, samach, tzadik, shin are more the teeth. The letters daled, tes, lamed, nun, taf are more of the tongue. And the letters gimel, yud, kaf, and chaf are of the palate. And then you have ches, ayin, ches and ayin. I remember what else there is. Are the throat. So those are the 5 organs of speech, the letter hey. Also, the letter hey is pronounced when you have it in a word, like an H. It's only breath. It's only breath. Which in speech, there's the 2 parts of speech, the breath and the articulation, the 5 organs. So that all represents the word of the king, that is the specific creative process in creating you and me and the rest of creation. So we have this powerful idea in the divine. The name of God is itself represents all divine attributes, Das is not mentioned over here specifically. The Yud and the Hey are the Das that are in between. The Hey and the Vav is the bridge that brings it to the emotions. So that's one way of the 10 divine attributes. Another one is sometimes we include divine will as it's represented by the thorn on top of the Yud. So that's the 10 spheros, illuminations of God. The 10 tikkunim, as the Zohar calls it, adornments, garments of self-expression of the name of God. That, as we will see, well, in this context, it's not so much about the appreciation of understanding, so we can have a relationship with God, even though, of course, we're always trying to understand. So it's always about understanding, and from that understanding, creating a feeling and creating a deeper connection, and ultimately bringing to our behavior as different, right? So this is understanding it on the divine level. Tomorrow we will bring it into the human context, because as we said, God breathed that part of him, that name, within us, and this is the makeup of the divine soul. More to come. Powerful knowledge of the divine order of things. Any questions? Let's take a look if we have any questions here. Thank you, Rick. Great idea. Annie, thank you, everybody, for your wonderful comments over here. Appreciate Luciana. Who else? Carlos. I'm not clear what you're saying, Fariba. Maybe make it more clearly. Ella, good morning. Pamela from Virginia, good morning. Rivka from Germany, thank you for joining. Thank you, Denise. So Imar asks a very good question. The second and fourth letter are both Hayes, right? Remember, this is only, the letters are a divine energy force, and the shape of the letters, the meaning of the letters, even though they're the same letters, represent different ideas. Well, it's God's name, so God's name can have an infinite, meaning behind it, and it's not limited to one specific thing. And it's a metaphor to understand the divine creative process. So they're both, a Hey is about expansion. So you're expanding either the minimal Yud, the dot of the Yud, into expansion of a Hey, Chachma expanding into Bina, right? The seminal idea into a full developed idea has a breadth, a length, and a depth. And then there's the emotions, of taking the emotions and developing them. Because an emotion, even though it's about another, but the emotion is still within me. Only when I express it in speech is it fully expressive and developed. So a Hey is about greater development of that which is it's developing. So it can develop the Yud of Chachma or the Vav of emotions. Excellent question. Thank you for asking that, Nimar. Karen from California, welcome. And David and Batya from Montreal. Karen from London. Oh, went back home to London. Thank you for joining us there with all the time difference. Anna from Hungary. Thank you. Are you from Miami? Okay, thank you all for your warm and kind words. The translation of God's name in English is not a great one. Can you suggest a better way of understanding it? Eric asks. Is God's name better translated as I am who I will be? Well, there's different names of God. So this name of God is a tetragrammaton in English, or Havaya. I would stick with Havaya. That's the best way. So that's the name Havaya means the name of bringing into being. And that's what God is doing with his name, bringing into being through the 10 divine attributes, spheros, the 10 garments. Yeah, Alice says it's worth replaying this to make sure you get this. I would actually strongly suggest that. Daphna from Chile, thank you. And Hannah, thank you, Debbie. All right, folks, sharing is caring. Please share this with others so they can have the benefit of the Alter Rebbe's divine wisdom that he was so humble and loving and caring to share with us. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from my home in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and pleasure to share with you, Tanya. Have a wonderful day.